What if I told you that behind the spotlight, the standing ovations, and the breathtaking concerts, a secret was waiting to explode? A confession so unexpected, so scandalous, that it could change everything fans thought they knew about Il Volo's Ignazio Boschetto. Reports are swirling that during one of Il Volo's concert tours in Tokyo, Ignazio allegedly admitted to an affair with a woman he met overseas. The whispers of this confession have left fans shocked, the media in a frenzy, and many questioning how much of the private lives of these global stars has been hidden from view. The alleged confession has opened up a storm of speculation. Was this a fleeting moment of passion during the pressures of international touring, or is there more to this story than anyone has dared to imagine? Witnesses claim that Ignazio, who has always been seen as warm, loyal, and down-to-earth, revealed the truth in a private setting, though no one knows why or under what circumstances he chose to do so. What makes the rumors even more explosive is not just the act itself, but the fact that it allegedly happened during a tour designed to celebrate Il Volo's unity and artistry in front of their adoring fans. For Ignazio, the timing of this alleged revelation could not be more dangerous. At a moment when Il Volo's popularity continues to soar, and as the trio is seen as ambassadors of Italian pride, such a scandal threatens to undermine years of carefully built trust. Fans who have followed them from their teenage years to international fame are left wondering, is this the same Ignazio they thought they knew? The mystery deepens as no official statement has been made. Silence from Ignazio only fuels the speculation, leaving fans to fill the gaps with theories of their own. Some believe it's nothing more than a fabricated rumor, a story invented to tarnish the reputation of one of Italy's most beloved singers. Others are convinced there's truth hidden in the shadows, and that this confession, if real, is only the beginning of a much bigger story. And that's exactly what we're going to explore today. Because the truth behind Ignazio's alleged Tokyo confession could not only affect him personally, but shake the very foundation of Il Volo itself. Stay with me until the end, because what we've uncovered will leave you questioning everything you thought you knew about this trio. To understand how this shocking rumor gained traction, we need to step back into the atmosphere of Il Volo's Tokyo tour. The group had just arrived in Japan for a series of sold-out concerts, with fans lining the streets outside their hotel, waiting for a glimpse of the trio. The excitement was electric. Every performance was packed with emotion, with the audience hanging onto every note. Behind the scenes, however, whispers suggest that Ignazio's attention may not have been focused solely on the music. According to reports, Ignazio allegedly met a woman during one of the after-show gatherings, where friends, industry professionals, and fans often mingle with the group. Described as elegant, charming, and deeply fascinated by Il Volo's music, she supposedly struck up a conversation with him that night. Witnesses say the chemistry was immediate, and that Ignazio seemed unusually captivated, laughing and engaging with her long after the crowd had thinned. From that moment, speculation suggests that the two kept crossing paths throughout the tour. Some say she was seen attending multiple concerts, always in the front rows, always watching closely. Others claim she was spotted entering the same venues and private events where the group celebrated after their shows. While none of this has been confirmed, the mere suggestion of a deeper connection has been enough to set social media ablaze. What makes the situation more intriguing is how carefully it was allegedly hidden. Il Volo is known for maintaining a polished public image, but during international tours, schedules are hectic and private moments are easier to conceal. Fans noticed nothing unusual at the time. Ignazio smiled as always on stage, his performances filled with energy and passion. But behind the bright lights, the alleged relationship with this mysterious Tokyo woman was quietly unfolding. Whether this was a fleeting interaction blown out of proportion or the start of something more is still unclear. What's undeniable is that the whispers of this encounter planted the seeds for a rumor that would later explode into talk of a confession, one that fans are now struggling to come to terms with. The most explosive part of this story isn't the whispers of late-night encounters or glimpses of a mysterious woman in the crowd. It's the alleged confession itself. According to sources close to the situation, Ignazio supposedly revealed the truth about what happened in Tokyo during a private conversation that no one expected to turn into such a bombshell. The details of where and how remain murky, but the rumor suggests it may have been during a quiet gathering after the tour, when emotions were high and guards were lowered. Some accounts claim that Ignazio spoke openly among a small circle of trusted friends and colleagues, perhaps feeling the weight of guilt or simply the need to unburden himself. The way it has been described, he allegedly admitted to being swept up in the whirlwind of the tour and making a mistake he now regretted deeply. For those who were present or who claim to have heard the story secondhand, the words were shocking, even heartbreaking, because they didn't come from a stranger but from one of the most beloved members of Il Volo, a man long admired for his humor, warmth, and authenticity. Others believe the confession may have been less direct, more of a hint or slip that was pieced together and exaggerated later on. Perhaps Ignazio, tired from endless travel and constant pressure, let something slip in conversation that sparked suspicion. In the world of celebrities, even a single ambiguous phrase can ignite a firestorm. And with Ignazio's fame, it would only take one person repeating what they thought they heard to set the story spinning out of control. What has made the alleged confession so compelling and so dangerous is that it strikes at the heart of what Il Volo represents. The group has always been seen as a symbol of loyalty, brotherhood, and family values, and to imagine one of its members admitting to an affair during a world tour feels like a betrayal of that image. Fans who adore Ignazio aren't just questioning him as an artist, but as a man. Could someone they looked up to, someone who poured his heart into every song, really have revealed something so deeply compromising? Adding to the mystery is the silence that followed. If this confession did take place, it wasn't made in front of cameras or journalists. It was whispered in confidence, leaving only rumors and fragments of stories behind. And yet, those fragments were enough to travel like wildfire, magnified by social media and fan speculation until they became the scandal we see today. Whether Ignazio truly confessed to an affair or whether these are the twisted echoes of something else entirely, the impact is undeniable. His name is now tied to a story that fans and media cannot ignore, and the weight of that alleged confession lingers like a shadow over his career. If the alleged confession was shocking in itself, what followed in its wake has been nothing short of a storm. Ignazio, who for years has been adored not only for his powerful voice, but also for his humor, kindness, and ability to connect with fans on a human level, suddenly found himself at the center of a narrative that threatened everything he stood for. The ripple effect of such rumors is powerful, and for someone like Ignazio, whose career and personal life have always been intertwined in the public eye, it became a burden almost too heavy to carry. Imagine the toll of waking up every morning to see your name attached to words like affair and betrayal. For Ignazio, the emotional weight of these whispers was compounded by the deep bond he shares with his fans, his bandmates, and his family. He has always prided himself on authenticity, often speaking openly about his personal experiences and emotions in interviews and on stage. That openness, once a source of admiration, now risked being twisted against him as every smile, every pause, every word was dissected for hidden meaning. Inside Il Volo, the dynamic may have shifted too. Though Piero and Gianluca have not spoken publicly about the rumors, it's easy to imagine the discomfort that would come with traveling, rehearsing, and performing alongside someone who is suddenly under the harshest spotlight of their career. For a trio built on unity and trust, even the suggestion of dishonesty or scandal could create fractures, whether real or imagined. Fans began speculating if Ignazio's energy on stage had changed, if the camaraderie looked less genuine, or if silent tensions were beginning to show. But perhaps the deepest impact was personal. Those closest to Ignazio, friends, family, and especially loved ones, would inevitably be swept into the narrative. An alleged affair, confessed or not, always raises questions of trust and loyalty, and even without proof, the very suggestion can leave scars. Private relationships become fair game for speculation, and rumors have a way of digging into places that should remain sacred. Did Ignazio's family believe the story? Did his partner, if he had one at the time, stand by him or question him? These are the kinds of doubts that rumors feed on, gnawing away at even the strongest bonds. The strain also reached into his public image. Il Volo has always represented more than just music. The trio embodies a sense of tradition, respect, and Italian pride. For Ignazio to be caught up in such allegations risked alienating not only fans, but also the wider community that sees the group as cultural ambassadors. Every headline that paired his name with the word affair chipped away at that carefully built image, threatening to overshadow the years of hard work and artistry that made him who he is today. And yet, through it all, Ignazio has remained largely silent. Some see this as a wise move, refusing to fuel the flames by giving the rumors more attention. Others interpret the silence as confirmation, wondering why he hasn't spoken out directly to deny it if it isn't true. In the world of celebrity scandals, silence can sometimes be louder than words, and Ignazio's decision not to address the rumors head-on has left fans divided. What is certain, however, is that the alleged confession, true or not, has left a lasting mark on Ignazio's journey. The weight of suspicion, the strain on relationships, and the pressure on his career have all collided, creating a chapter of his life that will not soon be forgotten. Whether this moment becomes a stumbling block or a turning point depends on how he chooses to navigate the storm from here. When the news of Ignazio's alleged confession spread, it didn't take long for the media to sink its teeth into the story. Gossip columns, online tabloids, and social media accounts that thrive on celebrity rumors suddenly had their perfect headline. Il Volo's Ignazio in Tokyo scandal and confession that shocked fans became the clickbait titles flashing across feeds everywhere. Within hours, the alleged affair wasn't just a whisper, it was a wildfire. Social media, as always, became the ultimate battleground. On one side were the loyal fans who refused to believe a word of the story, flooding timelines with messages of support for Ignazio. To them, this was nothing more than sensationalism designed to tear down a man who had given nothing but his heart and soul to his art. "We believe you, Ignazio, and stay strong," became trending hashtags as fan clubs rallied together, determined to shield him from the harsh glare of speculation. But on the other side, the skeptics were just as loud. Every detail of his recent concerts in Tokyo was suddenly under scrutiny. Fans began analyzing body language in interviews, dissecting his posts on Instagram, and even looking for hidden meanings in the songs he sang during the tour. Some claimed his emotional performances were signs of guilt, while others argued they reflected the pain of being falsely accused. Theories multiplied at lightning speed, creating an endless cycle of speculation that the media eagerly fed on. Journalists, both reputable and tabloid-driven, added their own layers to the story. Some framed the alleged confession as a career-threatening scandal, while others took a softer tone, suggesting that Ignazio was simply human and that mistakes shouldn't overshadow years of dedication and artistry. In the process, the truth became harder to separate from the noise. Meanwhile, Il Volo's global fan base found themselves caught in the middle. For many, the group's music has been a source of comfort, inspiration, and pride. To see one of their beloved tenors dragged into a scandal created a painful conflict. Could they continue supporting him wholeheartedly, or did the allegations create doubts that were impossible to ignore? The divide among fans grew sharper with every passing day. Even those who didn't normally follow Il Volo were pulled into the story. After all, scandal sells, and the idea of a world-renowned tenor confessing to an affair during an international tour was too irresistible for the press to ignore. Suddenly, Ignazio wasn't just a singer in the spotlight. He was a headline, a topic of debate, and for some, a scandal to gossip about at dinner tables. But what made the reaction even more explosive was the fact that Ignazio himself remained silent. The absence of an official denial or explanation left fans with nothing but speculation, and in that vacuum, the media narrative only grew louder. Each new article, Each new rumor, each fan argument kept the story alive, stretching it far beyond a fleeting headline into an ongoing saga. What's clear is that this wasn't just a story, it became a phenomenon. Ignazio's name was everywhere, his reputation hanging in the balance, with fans, critics, and the media all fighting to define what his confession really meant. And in the world of fame, where perception often matters just as much as truth, the reaction itself became just as significant as the allegation. While the outside world speculated endlessly about Ignazio's alleged confession, fans began to turn their attention to the other two voices of Il Volo, Piero and Gianluca. After all, the trio has always presented themselves as more than just a musical group. They're brothers, bound not only by music, but by years of trust, sacrifice, and shared success. So the question on everyone's mind was simple: how were they reacting to all of this? Reports began circulating that Piero, often seen as the most disciplined and traditional of the group, was deeply unsettled by the rumors. Some insiders claimed he feared the scandal could damage Il Volo's reputation, especially given their image as a trio that embodies Italian tradition, respect, and family values. For Piero, who has always dreamed of building a legacy in classical and operatic music, such a story could feel like a betrayal of everything they've worked for. There were even whispers of quiet tension between him and Ignazio, though nothing has been confirmed. On the other hand, Gianluca, the group's most reflective and emotionally sensitive member, was said to be struggling in a different way. Known for his deep connection with fans and his heartfelt approach to music, he allegedly worried less about the media storm and more about Ignazio as a person. Friends close to Gianluca suggested that he wanted to be there for Ignazio, to offer support and brotherhood, but at the same time, he was torn by the magnitude of the scandal. Standing by his friend could risk being dragged into the controversy himself, yet turning his back would contradict the bond they've shared since their teenage years. What makes this even more complicated is that Il Volo isn't just three men on a stage. It's a brand, a business, and a global phenomenon. Every scandal impacts ticket sales, sponsorships, and media appearances. So while Piero and Gianluca may have their personal feelings about the situation, they also had to think about the future of the group. Would audiences still welcome Il Volo with open arms, or would the shadow of the Tokyo scandal follow them wherever they go? Fans began analyzing every public appearance of the trio for signs of strain. Did Piero look more distant than usual during interviews? Was Gianluca's smile forced? Did Ignazio avoid eye contact with his bandmates on stage? The smallest gestures became magnified as fans searched for proof of cracks in the group's unity. And while some saw nothing unusual, others were convinced that the scandal had created an invisible wall between them. What no one can deny is that the scandal tested Il Volo's brotherhood like never before. For over a decade, they had stood side by side, weathering fame, grueling tours, and even personal struggles. But this was different. This was a story that didn't just involve their careers. It touched on trust, loyalty, and personal lives in a way that was far harder to control. And as rumors about private conversations between the trio began to surface, it raised even more questions. Were Piero and Gianluca pressuring Ignazio to issue a public statement? Were they divided in how to handle the scandal? Or were they silently hoping it would blow over on its own? Whatever the truth, one thing was clear. Il Volo was facing a challenge that could either break them apart or prove just how strong their bond really was. As the Tokyo scandal gained momentum, its effects began to seep into Il Volo's public and professional life. What had started as whispers on fan forums and gossip sites quickly became a shadow that followed the trio onto every stage, every interview, and every red carpet appearance. Suddenly, the focus wasn't solely on their music, it was on Ignazio and what people thought they knew about him. During concerts, fans noticed subtle changes in the group's chemistry. While the performances remained strong, some swore that the usual carefree banter between the three had grown more restrained. Ignazio, known for his humor and larger-than-life personality, appeared at times more subdued, almost as if carrying a weight he couldn't shake. On social media, clips of his quieter moments during shows were circulated as evidence of guilt, fueling speculation further. Ticket sales for upcoming performances didn't crash, but they faced unusual challenges. Promoters in certain cities allegedly had to answer tough questions from sponsors who were uneasy about being associated with a group linked to such headlines. In Italy, where Il Volo's image has always been tied to family values and national pride, the scandal stung the most. Some media outlets were sympathetic, while others seemed almost eager to question whether the trio's perfect image was beginning to crack. Internationally, the situation was even more complicated. In places like Latin America and the United States, where Il Volo has massive fan bases, journalists began bringing up the Tokyo rumors in press conferences. This created awkward moments where Piero and Gianluca were left to handle questions that Ignazio often avoided answering directly. In some cases, publicists intervened to steer conversations back to the music, but by then the damage was already done. The headlines were out, and the story refused to die. Despite the turmoil, many fans rallied around the trio, determined to show support. Concerts were still filled with cheers, standing ovations, and heartfelt signs of love for Ignazio, Piero, and Gianluca. But among those same crowds were people whispering, debating, and speculating about what was happening behind the scenes. For every fan who shouted, "We believe you, Ignazio," there were others who quietly questioned if the rumors were true. The tension was perhaps most visible in television appearances. Normally relaxed and playful, Il Volo's interviews suddenly seemed more guarded. While they laughed and smiled, those who had followed them for years felt there was something unspoken, an invisible wall between their public personas and the storm raging in the background. This made fans even more curious, as silence often speaks louder than words in the world of celebrity scandals. The scandal also began to impact Il Volo's brand collaborations. While no official partnerships were publicly canceled, insiders whispered that negotiations for future deals had been put on hold until the group's image stabilized. For a trio that has built its career not just on music, but on trust, credibility, and admiration across generations, this was an alarming signal. And yet, despite everything, Il Volo kept going. They continued to sing, continued to tour, and continued to bring their music to fans worldwide. Their resilience impressed many, but it also highlighted the growing divide. Were they ignoring the scandal in hopes it would fade? Were they too afraid to confront it directly? The stage lights may have shone as brightly as ever, but behind them, the Tokyo scandal cast a long and inescapable shadow, one that threatened not just Ignazio's personal reputation, but the very unity and future of Il Volo itself. Behind the stage lights, applause, and endless media chatter, the man at the center of it all, Ignazio Boschetto, was carrying a weight heavier than anyone could truly see. While the Tokyo scandal became a spectacle for the world, for Ignazio, it was something far more personal. The silence he maintained publicly didn't mean he was unaffected. In fact, those close to him began to notice the toll it was taking on his spirit. Friends and insiders whispered that Ignazio, who is usually the life of the party, had become more withdrawn in private moments. Known for his booming laugh, quick wit, and easy charm, he now seemed quieter, more contemplative, as if constantly burdened by thoughts he couldn't shake. Even his social media activity shifted. While once he shared joyful glimpses of his life, there was a noticeable change. Fewer posts, fewer glimpses of his usual lighthearted humor, almost as though he was stepping back from the world. The pressure was mounting from all sides. Fans demanded answers, journalists pursued the story relentlessly, and within Il Volo, there was an unspoken expectation that Ignazio's decisions, whether to stay silent or speak out, would affect not only himself but the entire group. That kind of responsibility, tied with personal pain, was an enormous strain for anyone to endure. Privately, there were rumors of sleepless nights, heated arguments with those closest to him, and moments of deep regret over how the situation had spiraled so far out of control. Some claimed that Ignazio confided in close friends that he felt trapped, torn between wanting to defend himself and fearing that anything he said would only fuel the fire. In the modern age of media, where every word is twisted, perhaps his silence was his way of trying to protect not only himself, but also Piero and Gianluca. But the silence also had consequences. For every day he stayed quiet, the rumors grew louder, and the weight on his shoulders became heavier. The very qualities that fans loved about him, his openness, his relatability, his humor, seemed at risk of being overshadowed by suspicion. And perhaps the hardest part was the personal reflection. Beyond the concerts, beyond the headlines, Ignazio is still a man with a heart, with emotions, with flaws like anyone else. If the allegations were false, then the pain of being misunderstood was immense. If they were true, then the guilt of disappointing those who believed in him most, the fans, his family, his brothers in Il Volo, was a burden almost impossible to carry. This was no longer just about a rumor. For Ignazio, it was about identity, reputation, and the trust of millions who had followed his voice for years. The question lingered, how long could he hold on without breaking his silence? And when he finally did, would the truth heal the wounds or deepen them forever? The biggest question hanging over this entire scandal isn't just about whether Ignazio did or didn't confess to an affair in Tokyo, it's about what comes next. For Il Volo, a group that has built more than a decade of global success on trust, unity, and music that transcends generations, the future feels uncertain. Can they weather this storm, or has the damage already been done? For Ignazio personally, the consequences could be profound. His reputation as the fun-loving, charismatic heart of the group has always been central to Il Volo's identity. If fans continue to associate his name with scandal rather than music, it risks overshadowing years of hard work, awards, and artistry. Some publicists argue that silence is a dangerous strategy, that without speaking up, the narrative will never shift. Others believe that in time, fans' loyalty will outlast the rumors, as long as Ignazio remains consistent on stage and true to his music. Either way, his every move from this point forward will be carefully scrutinized. For Piero and Gianluca, the situation presents a different kind of challenge. Their loyalty to Ignazio as a brother and bandmate is unquestioned, but the image of Il Volo as a trio of untouchable gentlemen has already been shaken. Behind the scenes, difficult conversations are likely happening about how to protect the group's brand, how to answer difficult questions in interviews, and how to present themselves moving forward. It's possible that tensions could grow, even if unspoken, as the weight of scandal presses on their shared career. And then there are the fans. Il Volo's supporters are famously loyal, but they're also deeply invested in the trio as people, not just performers. Some will never believe the rumors, clinging to their image of Ignazio as the same loving, authentic artist they've always admired. Others, however, may never be able to separate the man from the scandal. That divide could follow the group for years, creating an undercurrent of tension at concerts, online discussions, and media appearances. On a broader scale, the Tokyo scandal may also affect Il Volo's opportunities outside of live performances. Sponsorships, endorsements, and even television appearances often depend on an artist's public image. If the controversy refuses to die down, doors that were once wide open may quietly begin to close. The question becomes not just whether Il Volo can survive this, but whether they can thrive in spite of it. Yet, there's another possibility. Scandals, as destructive as they can be, sometimes strengthen a career if handled the right way. Should Ignazio choose to confront the rumors head-on, through an interview, a heartfelt statement, or even through music, he could reclaim the narrative and turn vulnerability into strength. Fans have always loved him for his authenticity, and showing that side during this crisis might not only save his reputation, but deepen the bond he shares with his audience. As things stand now, the future remains uncertain. The scandal has left Il Volo at a crossroads. One path leads to fractured trust and lingering doubts, while the other could solidify their resilience and prove that no rumor, however damaging, can silence their harmony. The world is watching, and every move Ignazio makes from here on will shape not only his destiny, but the legacy of Il Volo itself. And so, here we are, standing at the edge of a story that feels unfinished, a puzzle missing its final piece. The alleged confession in Tokyo has left more questions than answers, and Ignazio's silence only deepens the mystery. Did he truly reveal a secret that could shatter Il Volo's carefully built image? Or are these just rumors, stretched and twisted by the ruthless cycle of gossip and speculation? What makes this situation so powerful and so dangerous is that it touches not just on Ignazio as a man, but on the very essence of Il Volo. For over a decade, the trio has been a beacon of harmony, loyalty, and timeless music. They've stood on the world's greatest stages, shared their voices with presidents, popes, and millions of adoring fans. But now that harmony is being tested in a way no stage performance ever could. Fans find themselves torn, some holding on to unshakable faith in Ignazio, believing in the sincerity that has always defined him, while others hesitate, caught in the gravity of scandal and doubt. And Piero and Gianluca? They too are caught in the middle, balancing brotherhood with business, image with truth. The bond of Il Volo has faced storms before, but this one feels different. This one feels personal. The future hangs in the balance. Will Ignazio speak out and set the record straight? Or will the silence stretch on, leaving the world to wonder? Will Il Volo's legacy be dented by controversy, or will they emerge stronger, showing the world that no rumor can silence their voices? One thing is certain, this story is far from over, and when the truth finally comes to light, it could either redeem Ignazio or redefine him forever. If you followed this journey with us, you know how gripping, how emotional, and how unpredictable it has been. And trust me, what comes next may be even more shocking. So don't miss it. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you'll be the first to know when we uncover the next chapter in this unfolding drama. Because with Il Volo, the music may always be beautiful, but behind the scenes, the story is proving to be even more dramatic than anyone could have imagined.